Imagine one day that the moon crashes into the city you live in, the city of Balbalon. And with an enormous gaping hole filled with enemies and bosses being all that remains, you must now delve into the pit to fight against all of them with balls. So today, in order to restore back the city of Balbalon and conquer the dangers of the pit, I will need to unlock all 16 unique characters, beat every single level and boss with those characters, discover and utilize over 60 unique balls, and build every single building and upgrade to 100% Ball X Pit. And it all begins with the intro cutscene preceding our first run. The beautiful city of Balbalon. All of a sudden one day, a ball appears. Balbalon has fallen. A pit is all that remains. Now treasure seekers flock to explore the depths. Tell me that's not heat, bro! And thus starts our first run in Ball X Pit in the Boneyard level of Layer 1. The game immediately throws us into a bit of a tutorial phase. And after setting up my controls as well as setting up auto fire on my controller, we go ahead and start killing a bunch of enemies using our blood ball. For those that are similar to a vampire survival-esque leveling up system, we pick up gems and are allowed 3 choices between balls and items. The current gameplay loop to our ball mastery right now, as enemies push us to the bottom of our screen, we need to kill them before they attack us and deplete our health bar at the bottom left. And as we continue our level, we start getting some more things, such as fission, the ability to upgrade more than one thing at a time. The beginnings of our ball pit journey are going to be rather simple. With not a lot of balls and evolutions unlocked yet, we need to play as very angular as possible. Now, for those people that have never played games like Pachinko or like, I don't know, any Ricochet-like games, which actually was me, one of the best things to do in Ball X Pit is to angle your balls to the side or within side enemies. The way that we're mainly doing damage is through our main balls in our top left, but also a thing called child balls, which, oh goodness. But our main goal is to deal as much damage as possible, and one of the tools that we're given is something called fusion, baby. Some Dragon Ball Z type crap. Fusion allows us to combine 2 ball effects and throw them together, and in this run particularly, we combine the bleed and the laser ball, meaning that whenever we do laser effects, they now all inflict a bleed proc. Now, for those that are unaware, this is my second save file as a professional baller. All right, so I'm actually pretty experienced there, I say, but the biggest thing that we're trying to do right now is win. And with our laser ball hitting almost every single enemy in a specific column and inflicting bleed, we're doing relatively well until we start taking way more damage than I anticipated. Although this is our first run, one of the most critical things that we have to start thinking about is our ball health. What do you mean by that, Adrian? Well, there's this thing called evolution. I know I mentioned fusion, which is combining 2 balls to combine their effects, but evolution is a little bit on the better side. I'm sure you can surmise that if you're actually able to get 2 specific types of balls, you can actually, instead of fusing them, evolve them into a combined, not just fusion effect, but an evolved effect, a step beyond fusion. And in this case, we combined our thunder and our frost ball into a blizzard ball, giving us a much more wider AoE and an increase in damage. And with that, we are now pushing back the enemies even more than before. Now, typically in a run, as you're leveling up your balls and evolving and fusing them, as well as getting more items and maxing them out, there's going to be 2 main mini bosses that come after you before the final boss at the very end. And right now, our current build was actually surprisingly holding everything off despite us having 0 upgrades. Until finally, we get to the very end of our first run, our first ever run. It encountered the boss of the first layer of the game. Oh, by the way, this is the boss. We're fighting the Skeleton King. We have to ricochet because the balls don't go through the front. And I'm kind of having trouble doing that, but I came from Terraria, and this is kind of easy. Now, my first biggest regret with this entire series is that I put my face cam over literally the most important part about the game, which is the boss levels and the progression of the level, but we're not going to talk about that. The Skeleton King is the first boss that you encounter in the game, and he's actually kind of not too bad. As long as you're able to ricochet balls into the back of his head where his vulnerability is at, you should be able to kill him rather quickly. The only hard part is the little bullet hells that he's doing, but if you're like me and you're coming from Terraria, well, this is pretty light work. But finally, with a little bit of finesse, we're able to take out our first boss in our first ever run of Ball X Pit, and we're rewarded with a gear. These gears are going to be very important as they progress the game, as well as our first blueprint, which is the Boneyard Trophy. On top of that, we get a brand new blueprint for a brand new character, as well as leveling up our first character we now know as the Warrior. And now starts one of my favorite aspects about Ball X Pit, the city and base management. Since we beat the first boss, we also got some brand new upgrades, including a brand new ball and 3 new items. But now welcome to New Balbalon, our home base, where we're now able to start building and actually getting resources to unlock buildings, which actually give us upgrades. The first thing I immediately did was built a sheriff's office. This is going to unlock a brand new character for us to use in Ball X Pit, as well as putting down some wheat fields and some forests, and ideally make it as compact as possible. Now you might be wondering, Adrian, why are you trying to put everything in a small little containment unit? Okay, what are you, a freak? The answer to that is Yes. But also number 2, we need to harvest. And harvesting isn't your regular old harvesting. Harvesting is kind of like actually doing a little mini game. You're trying to bounce things and pick them up with your characters, which is why we need everything to be as small as possible. Actually, I'm sorry. This is a pretty average size base. Now that we've expanded, it's pretty big. Our goal right now is to not only build as much things as possible, but keep things as contained as possible, because if you can't harvest what you have built, there's no point. We now check out our brand new character that we've unlocked, the Achy Finger, who actually spawns with a fireball. We go ahead and start a brand new run on Achy Finger on the Boneyard, and you'll notice that he's a little bit more faster. His special gimmick compared to the Knight, who has no gimmick at all, which is okay. You don't need a gimmick to be special in life, is that he has a much more faster fire rate and movement speed. Because of this, we're able to move around much more easily and kind of like put ourselves in the little nooks and crannies where our little balls can sneak through and hit the enemies. But anyway, this run went relatively simple. Achy Finger is actually one of my favorite characters in the game. He's super fun. You're gonna have a lot of child balls. Very nice. But with this run of Achy Finger, I still wanted to actually get some progress done, specifically on the encyclopedia and getting my evolution recipes. You'll notice that the evolution recipes aren't going to be told to you out front. You actually have to discover them. And now I learned that when I combine fire and when I combined ice, I get something called Frozen Flame, which has a slight debuff burn effect. Eventually, at the end of the game, we'll figure out all of the recipes, because we actually have to. That's an achievement. It's not just a personal goal of mine. It's not a New Year's resolution, goddammit. But you'll notice that's the reason why I'm picking up a lot of random balls. All right, I'm a ball lover. Okay, I love them of all colors and all sizes. Okay, we need to figure out what works together, what combines together into evolutions, as well as we need to actually get them to level 3. If you look at the top left, the only way that you can actually combine or evolve balls is that you need to have them all at level 3. And once they're at level 3, you can actually evolve them. And so in this case, we're able to combine our vertical and horizontal laser to get one of my favorite items in the game, hands down, aesthetically pleasing, the Holy Laser. The Holy Laser evolution is a ball that does a vertical and horizontal laser at the same time. And you'll notice that things are kind of already picking up for us. But not only that, we start picking up some blueprints. Every single level has a couple of blueprints that you want to pick up, specifically for buildings. These buildings give you a base stat up or whatever upgrade. Some of them are pretty crazy down the line, by the way. But my goal right now is to not only finish every single level with most of the characters, as well as fill out my encyclopedia, but get every single blueprint that we need. But now comes one of my favorite parts about the game. Yes, you can evolve balls, but did you know you can fuse evolve balls? Because now we have a Frozen Flame X Holy Laser, where now our Holy Laser that does a vertical and horizontal laser, all of that procs Frozen Flame. God, I love balls. And so the run continues. We get to the boss, the Skeleton King, and guess what? Our balls are so strong and so heavy and so taut, we're able to kill him immediately, get our character completion bonus for gold, as well as getting a gear, as well as a bunch of blueprints. With now us having 2 out of 2 gears, we can now unlock the next area and basically go deeper into the pit, into the Snowy Shores. Not only can we get brand new blueprints and more characters from this brand new area, but also we got, like I mentioned, a bunch of blueprints. And so the first thing we do is put them down. Now the thing with this game is that in order to build a actual house or build any building, you need to have your characters actually bounce on them a couple of times to build something called build points up. But with us not having enough characters to actually finish the building during the harvest, I decided to do another run on the Knight. However, in our brand new stage, the Snowy Shores, baby. Actually, I just realized, why is it called the Snowy Shores? Oh, because it's ice on the bottom. Actually, that's pretty cool. And so now we march on in a brand new level with stronger, albeit kind of handleable enemies. The enemies in the Snowy Shores have a little bit of a more projectile thing going, so they can actually hit you and potentially kill you, which is not going to happen with us. But also the big thing is that you'll notice that some of these enemies actually have snowy shield ice walls in front of them, meaning that you actually have to hit them at specific weird angles. So because of that, I decided to opt in with some more AoE effect balls, like the lightning ball or the laser ball. And I will say, because we don't actually have as much upgrades or blueprints or even leveling up our Knight as much as I really wanted to, we actually do kind of struggle a little bit. Please die. How are you not? There we go. Oh my God. It's so strange. I like started dissociating halfway through this run. Do you think people that play basketball or soccer like relate with this game even more? They're just like, yeah, I love balls. That's all they say. Where am I going with this? But anyway, we push on through the level somehow and unlock a brand new evolution, combining the bleed ball and the dark ball to make a brand new little thing called the sacrifice ball. The sacrifice ball inflicts bleed like the bleed ball does, but it also inflicts something called curse. But finally, in due time, we reach the final area of the Snowy Shores and face the boss, the Icebound Queen. Raria reference? Oh God. Okay. Yep. I forgot how crazy these attacks get. The Icebound Queen is a little bit of a tricky boss fight because there's these snow/ice shields. We kind of have to ricochet our balls to try and sneak them behind or inside of their little shell and hopefully do enough DPS and kill them that way. The problem is though, there's actually just so much so much things happening on the field at once. The Icebound Queen also has this crazy like ice wall attack, and if you're just in the wrong position, you're taking a bunch of damage. But somehow, luckily for us, we're actually able to defeat the Icebound Queen on our first run of the Snowy Shores, giving us a gear and a bunch, and I mean a bunch of blueprints. As I mentioned before, these blueprints are the lifeblood of our game. Eventually, we're going to be starting to get a lot more harder bosses and a lot more harder stages where it's not about how well you play, it's instead how strong is your actual new Balbalon buildings? How strong are you? So with that being said, during the harvest, we start building our buildings, and the first building we built unlocks the Repentant character. The Repentant, where balls deal 5% more damage every time they bounce, but if they hit the back wall, they actually return to you, making the Repentant a very ball/reflection heavy build character. And so with that knowledge in mind, as I entered the Snowy Shores once again on Repent, feeling very confident, I unfortunately lost my first ever run. Luckily for us, we're still able to actually do a harvest no matter how good your run is. And because of that, we get our first resource building, which is the farm, allowing us to automatically harvest wheat in a specific vicinity. Now, there's actually a reason to why you actually will start losing runs despite being, or let's say getting, every single perfect ball you want. And that is because of character levels. Not only can you progress and get better buildings and better upgrades with your little town New Babylon thing, but you also actually have to level up your characters and increase their stats and their scaling. And so unfortunately for me, I even though had a run with Achy Finger, who was one of my favorite characters and I thought a decent level, I still lost at the Snowy Shores. But that's okay, because during this harvest, we're able to complete a building for a brand new, one of my favorite characters in all of Ball-X Pit, Jacob in Hitbox, the Cohabitants. This character, in fact, this characters has a unique trait of shooting double the balls that you have at the same time, although being at slightly a little bit less damage. It's half, okay, sine of 30 equals 1/2. Despite having that low reduced damage, you're still outputting double the normal amount of balls that you normally would, meaning if you actually just angle it a little bit to the lowest angle as you possibly can and run up to the very front of the field, you're probably going to be able to win most of your runs. Now, the reason why I say you might almost win most of your runs is because I actually died during this run. But that gave me the reminder that actually I should probably go back and get all of the blueprints in the first level. And so using the Cohabitants, we're actually able to successfully defeat the Skeleton King on our first run, as well as get a bunch of blueprints, including the Barracks. This specific building gives us bonus strength points, which strength actually dictates how much damage your balls do. On top of the Cohabitants leveling up from that completed run, as well as us getting some more harvesting done. Yes. Our base is finally not only just shaping up resource-wise, as well as getting a brand new character, the Embedded, but also strength-wise. We're getting a lot more buildings that are increasing our base stats, such as endurance and strength, meaning that our characters, or just the base characters without any balls, any upgrades, should be relatively stronger, and thus, you can kind of see where the gameplay loop is kind of kicking in. But with that new building, we unlocked the Embedded, a special character that has piercing as his main mechanic. However, I decided to play the Repentant in the first level because I actually wanted to not only get Repentance level up, but also complete the completion marks for the character. Eventually down the line, we have to complete every single stage with every single character, and so I thought, let's get the Repentant done out of the way and kind of go in order. And with the first boss fight being super easy for us, we unlock a brand new blueprint for the schoolhouse, which is bonus intelligence points, as well as leveling up Repentance. The current goal that we're doing right now is to build every single blueprint from the first level as soon as possible, because those are giving us an increased base stat point increase. And now that we're running out of space, I decided to expand the land a little bit north, as well as starting to finish some more buildings, which luckily for us, with the current layout, we're able to not only finish the building for the Cogitator character, which is a new character, one of my favorite characters, but also you'll notice that my layout is strategically designed so that characters can bounce throughout most of the map. But anyway, within due time, we're actually able to complete a run on Snowy Shores using the Cohabitants, and with us having enough cogs to unlock the brand new stage, we entered the Liminal Desert with our brand new character, the Cogitator. The Cogitator is a little bit of a weirder character. He has a really nice accuracy, but his unique gimmick is that when you level up, he actually automatically picks your upgrades for you. Now you might be wondering, well, Adrian, why would I want to have a character that picks the upgrades for me? Wouldn't I just benefit greatly from picking my own build by myself? And the answer to that is a resounding no. Do you think you are smarter than the AI of this game? Okay, that was a joke. I will admit that was a little mean. But the really cool thing about Cogitator is although he picks the upgrades for you, think about it like this. Remember how I said you have to unlock the evolution recipes and figure them out on your own to get those stronger balls? Well, if you have the Cogitator, he's just going to pick random stuff and he's going to see how it works. With that being said, all you really have to do now is just pilot him, let him pick all these random crazy things that you might think might not work together and realize that they actually do. For example, combining the Broodmother and the Bleed Ball gives you a brand new evolution ball, the Leech. I would not have been able to put 2 and 2 together if I not had a Clanker guiding me. It's combining Broodmother and Ghost. That is an interesting combination. Okay, well, sometimes he does make a little bit of a weird decision, but trust me, okay, he's definitely a character that you're going to want to be using a lot of, figuring out the evolutions, filling out your encyclopedia for you, and so whenever you're doing your runs, they're technically knowledge-wise easier. But anyway, within due time, we're able to reach the final level, the boss of the Liminal Desert. It is the Twisted Serpent. Dude, I didn't even realize we're at the boss. I'm so dissociated from this game. Also, by the way, we're gonna do so much damage because look, we can slither our balls into his backside and we just do so much damage. It's just delicious. The boss of the Liminal Desert is actually relatively simple and pretty fun. You're actually, like I said, you're allowed to put them balls in his backside. And because most of this game's damage is coming from ricochets more often than not, you're able to actually kind of kill this boss relatively fast. But regardless, within due time, we're able to complete and get our character bonus, which is a lot of gold, as well as a bunch of blueprints and our first cog for unlocking the Lex level. But now if you notice, our cogitator and our characters in general are kind of leveling up a lot more faster because the levels are inherently harder. But not only are they getting sets, they're also getting some bonuses. We end up getting some brand new balls and new items, as well as the Military Academy building, which is one of the most important buildings or types of buildings in the game. Although my face cam was covering it, the ability of this building is that it increases your strength scaling specifically. This means we now have access to a group of stat scaling buildings. Not just bonus points, but scaling, meaning that it is a multiplicative bonus to our characters, meaning they will be multiplicatively getting stronger? Is that a word? But anyway, with that being said, we start putting down every building as we possibly can put down and build, and just throwing our characters and trying to build them as fast as possible. Yes, we could min-max for resources, but the best thing is to min-max on characters. Introducing the Empty Nester, a brand new character we unlocked. He has a really cool gimmick where he has no baby balls, but instead he has multiple instances of special balls, meaning you don't really get those like small little white balls. Instead, if you had one laser ball, you now have two. Take it or leave it. Anyway, I spent some time upgrading and moving around my building so that I can actually scale a little bit faster. And because of that, if you go ahead and look at some of our stats now, the scaling for some of our characters like the warrior are now, instead of E scaling, they're now D scaling. And since our characters are now growing stronger, we're able to get the gears necessary to get the next level of the game, the Fungal Forest. I went ahead and started up my run in the Fungal Forest with my favorite character, Jacob in Hitbox. The first thing that's a little bit strange about this level is that the enemies are a little bit more higher than usual. And I'm not talking about the lettuce kind. A ton of the enemies in the Fungal Forest not only are doing like artillery mortar strike projectiles at you, but also there are a lot more layers to them. Because of this, I knew that I wanted to optimize my damage. However, instead of going for the ball route, I decided to go for something a little bit more unconventional, the item route. So far throughout my runs, I've kind of been willy-nilly on the type of items that I want. But now that I've unlocked re-rolling, which is the ability to re-roll the rewards you get, I started looking for the daggers in the item build category. The daggers are a set of items that do a specific amount of critical strike chance depending on where you're hitting them, specifically either the left, the right, the front, or the backside. But in the chance that you get to get all of them occupy all of your item slots, and they're all maxed out when you get a reactor, you can actually evolve them and combine all of them with each other to get a secret item evolution, the Dead Eyes Cross, a straight increased chance to critical hit. This combined with my cohabitants with the current build that I was rocking means even though we weren't killing everything immediately, we were able to keep a stable front, a monumental damage increase with this brand new item, allowing us to do steady but slow damage to every single row over time. Until finally, we hit the final area and reach the boss of the Fungal Forest. This is the Shroom Swarm. It's rather interesting because all I believe is that it's just a hive mind of regular enemies. And if you have piercing, as you can see that we do like right now, look at how much damage we're doing. It's almost dead. The Fungal Forest, in my opinion, has one of the easiest bosses in the entire game. And with the cohabitants being the strongest characters I've been using so far, we're able to successfully complete a run, gather some brand new blueprints, and go back to our home base. But here's where things get rather interesting in our game. First of all, yes, we've unlocked some brand new balls and new items, but there's a brand new building we can now make. The building is called the Matchmaker, and even though my face cam is blocking it, it gives us the ability to bring 2 characters per run. But for now, I decided to build as many other things as I possibly can, as well as upgrade we need to do because we need to start ramping up our resource gain. And so I decided to do some easier runs on some other characters. This would give me ample time to not only level up my characters, but also get some extra harvesting sessions, thus building some more buildings and ultimately getting either more blueprints or more stat increases for all of our characters. Since I was also running Cogitator, I was able to start increasing the amount of recipes, via evolutions because of the encyclopedia. And so because of that, we're able to build a lot more buildings, including some brand new buildings for new characters, specifically the Shade and Makeshift Sisyphus. At this point in the game as well, since I was doing so much more runs and cleaning up all of the recipes I have not gathered yet, we started getting a lot more buildings that we can make, but not really build yet. Because I was kind of progressing in this such like weird way of like focusing on runs and just doing characters characters and unlocking blueprints, I wasn't really focusing on my resource gain. So even though I knew how to make the buildings, I couldn't build them yet. And so I decided to do a run on Makeshift Sisyphus, who is actually an AoE character. This character has no child balls, but in return, his AoE and his status effect powers are much more bigger and stronger. And so whenever you do runs on this character, primarily you want to pick things that have a lot of AoE and status effect. Wow, that's so obvious. And so in my run in the Fungal Forest, I decided to go with a laser build with some kind of more damage affecting items. It was working all right, but things really started picking up when I combined the ice ball and the earth ball to make a glacier. The glacier is a fantastic ball that shoots out these like mini like little icebergs out on their own time to deal a lot of damage and do a decent amount of AoE. And what's super nice about the Fungal Forest and Makeshift Sisyphus is that because we have AoE as our buff, and since the boss is more so of an AoE fight, it was rather simple. But as I mentioned before, this doesn't really solve the crisis we're having of resources. We still need resources. We can build all the buildings we want, but what's the point if we cannot generate enough resources? So I did the next thing possible. I grinded a whole bunch of runs. And because of that, we had so many resources, we can finally build the building I've been trying to make this entire time. The Matchmaker building, which is probably where the game actually really hooked me in for the long haul. This was the moment when I was like, all right, I'm gonna go for the 100%. And with all of the runs that I've been doing off camera to get the resources for the Matchmaker building, we're able to unlock the next area of the game, the Gory grasslands. But using the Matchmaker building, we can do something a little bit different. Instead of one character per run, we can now bring two. And not only can we bring two, we can combine their unique abilities as well as their spawning ball. And so let me welcome you to the Gory grasslands, but with the cohabitants combined with the shade. The shade has the special ability of shooting balls from the back, and the cohabitants have the special ability of shooting a lot of balls. It's two people. The really cool thing about this combination, and what is the reason why this is my favorite combination, is that because all of the balls are being shot from the back with the shade, and the cohabitants theoretically, or quite literally, just shoot a ton of balls, you're basically just shooting a bunch of balls in the backside, and they bounce on each other over and over and over and over again. Because of this, we have now an insane character combination that shoots balls absolutely everywhere on the screen, and you could just not really have to worry about losing. You're probably gonna win. During this run, we also find the evolution for the overgrowth ball, which is the cell and the earthquake ball, which, by the way, this is one of the best balls in the game. It does a ton of damage if you're able to proc it properly, which will actually be very easy when we get more balls later on. But in this run, in our first ever run of the Gory grasslands, we are absolutely destroying the enemies. We combine our Spider Queen with the overgrowth ball to make more overgrowth balls, and we're doing so much damage, I don't even think the enemies know that they're even going on the battlefield. We're killing them so fast, they can barely move up. And then finally, in due time, we make our way to the boss battle of the Gory grasslands. A Sabertooth. He looks pretty cool. It's also pretty easy. Yeah, this boss was really easy. It's literally a big square wafer bar. With the victory from the Gory grasslands, we get the Gory trophy, as well as now getting 2 gears per run you do. Yeah, that's right. When you bring 2 characters on a run, you get 2 of their completion marks and 2 gears. It's insane. And so when I got to my base, I decided to start expanding a whole bunch. We're gonna start building a lot more things to start accelerating our resource gain, specifically dense wheat fields. Dense wheat fields give you more wheat fields, and they're smaller, so you can put more of them. I don't think I need to explain more. We also build a magnet factory to increase our pickup range, making it where whenever we're in game, we can pick up more crystals because, well, we have a bigger pickup range. I don't know where you wanted me to go with that. We also kind of start optimizing our base just a little bit more. We start by moving most of the things that we're not going to be upgrading or needing to build into the back, and trying to keep most of the either new buildings or most of the resource buildings in the front. That way, whenever we are harvesting, everyone can just kind of sit together and gather together. Hunter-gatherer, it's like a tribe, dude. To further support this idea, we start by also building a little mini wall so that all of the upgradable buildings and all of the resource stuffs are on one side of the wall, and all of the cooler buildings are on the other side of the wall. And with that, whenever we farm resources now, everything should be relatively self-contained. And so we move on to our next run. And as you could see, we started to unlock a lot more characters, like the shield bearer, who has a ginormous shield, and his big thing is that he can do a lot more damage if things bounce off the shield. But we also unlocked the spendthrift, who has kind of like a shotgun range of balls. But I decided to do something a little bit different. I wanted to do the cogitator and the repentant. And the reason being is because I was actually lazy this run. Yeah, honestly, I just kind of wanted to see what was going to happen in this run, and also maybe get some new things for the encyclopedia. Cogitator was doing some weird stuff. He's doing some weird stuff with those balls, but can't be weirder than me, really. But surprisingly, it actually ended up working out. I think the buildings are just supplementing our general run so far that we can kind of turn our brain off. And because of that, we're able to defeat and gather ourselves the remaining gears to get to the next area. This is, like I said, this really is when the game just absolutely snowballs in progress. You're able to bring 2 characters, get 2 completion marks, get 2 cogs, level up 2 characters at the same time. And with 4 gears, we're able to upgrade our lift and go into the Smoldering depths. At this point in the game, we only needed a couple more characters left. We had about 3 more blueprints left, and the other buildings just have to be made. It takes takes a while. Okay, it takes a while. But upon our next harvest, we're able to build one of the buildings and unlock a brand new character, the Flagellant. The Flagellant is a rather weird character. He kind of plays normally, except balls bounce normally off the bottom of the screen. I don't think I played with him too much, but I decided to give him a shot and go into the brand new level of the Smoldering Depths with the Flagellant and my favorite character, Jacob in Hitbox. Although the enemies in this Smoldering Depths were much more stronger and tankier and like really tankier, and as well as there's lava pits on the floor. That's amazing. We were kind of relatively doing really well, and I mean extraordinarily well, as in like I can turn off my brain and probably win this run well. And looking back at it, I can kind of see why I picked this character combination, because the balls bounce off the bottom of the screen, and because we have so many balls on the screen, well, we just have more balls on the screen. During this run, I was able to pick up a light ball, which kind of blinds enemies temporarily, making it where it's super hard for them to hit you. However, if you combine the blind ball with the fireball, you can get a screen-wide burn effect depending on how far the ball goes, meaning you can blind enemies as well as burn them at a high radius. And with the beauty and the magic of Ball Pit, we're able to combine the Spider Queen ball, which spawns more balls, with the Sun Ball to spawn more sun balls. You may think I'm getting nervous, but it's all part of my plan. You see, we're actually even at the boss at the Smoldering Depths already. I don't even know where my balls are at, because they're bouncing at the bottom, but we're also like doing a bunch of damage at the top. Ow. Okay, we do take a lot of damage. Regardless, we're able to get the 2 gears from this level. At relative ease, we may be taking a lot of damage, but we do a lot of damage. But as you can see, our runs are getting much more shorter in time, meaning we're getting progress faster, as well as getting more blueprints to get more characters, which make harvesting faster. It's overall just a video game plus. With the first win of the Smoldering Depths, we get 2 brand new items, as well as some more resources to start expanding to get more resources. Actually, yeah. Whenever we do our harvest, we're actually able to hit absolutely everything, as well as build a brand new character's house, the Juggler, which is one of my favorite characters, by the way. I decided to go ahead and do some grinding off camera. This is a roguelike, so you do have to do a decent amount of progress off camera. It wasn't bad. It was like maybe 20, 30 runs. Not too bad. But because of that, I was able to expand my city a lot more. I was upgrading more buildings, getting more resources, upgrading my resource buildings as well. But because of that, I was able to actually build the buildings for the brand new characters, specifically the Tactician, where he makes battles turn-based. I'm never using him, by the way. But because of those runs to get more resources and to make the, recording actually feasible to watch, I was able to unlock the next area of the game, the Heavenly Gates. This is the semi-final area to the entire game, at least for now. I know there's DLC coming out. And to try out this brand new stage, I decided to bring 2 of my favorite characters in a beautiful character customization combo salad. And that is the Juggler and the Repentant. The Repentant, we've used this character before. This is the character where they get more damage depending on how much more bounces that they do. They get 5% increase, and if the balls hit the back of the stage, well, then they return to you. However, the Juggler is a character where they can actually lob the ball into where they want to start bouncing, meaning you can basically lob a hand grenade inside of a school, essentially. Because you're picking where the balls are able to spawn, and basically, you're choosing the starting point of where they all bounce, then you can pick a place where there's going to be the most bounces possible, aka inside of a school of a bunch of enemies. And because their abilities are combined, the Repentance bounce ability plus damage thing is now being synchronized with the Juggler's inherent ability to lob balls. And so because of this, even though this is our first time at the Heavenly Gates, okay, this is our first time at the quote-unquote hardest stage where we're supposed to be at, we're doing insane amounts of damage. We're clearing the board. We're barely taking any damage, if any at all. But here's where the game starts getting much more interesting. You see, I kind of think of these games as like a Vampire Survivors Mega Bonk style game where it's like you pick 4 weapons, pick 4 items, you can upgrade, you can combine, super cool. But I ended up finding a blueprint, the Bag Maker. It adds 1 extra ball slot. What? Do you know what this means? Do you know the possibilities of what that is? Hold on, let me describe it to you in a more simpler way. Imagine you were 8 years old and your mom gave you a choice to get an iPad or a gaming PC. If you had a gaming PC, whoa, you could do so many things with that. If we are able to make this brand new building to give us a 5th ball, not only will that make the runs easier with the ability to get more special balls for more DPS, but also combinations will be easier. Evolutions will be easier. The game will be easier. Anyway, we ended up reaching to the boss, the Lord of the Owls. He's kind of like the other bosses. He's really tanky. He has a lot of children that we're going to be killing, and he has like this weird flying thing, so like it's kind of hard to hit him. However, it doesn't matter. We still kill him. You know something that I really miss? I don't know if you guys were around for this, but the Burger King mac and Cheetos, they were the most disgusting, vile things I've ever eaten in my life. But I think because of my nostalgic sense of craving and my blind longing for a time that doesn't exist anymore, I want some mac and Cheetos. If you guys don't know what they were basically these, like, imagine a mozzarella stick, make it worse, replace the foreskin with Cheeto dust, and replace the entirety of the inside with mac and cheese. It sounds disgusting because it is, but I thought it was pretty good. I was kind of a freak when I was a kid. And with our overpowered build and 2 characters characters in a tangent that I don't remember saying at all. We end up getting our last recipe for the last character we need to unlock, as well as coming home to some brand new balls and some brand new items. But here's where I realized that the end game, or the final stages of the game, is going to be a little bit harder than I realized. These brand new buildings, they're really expensive. They're really good, but oh my god. So the first thing I did was I started by expanding my base. I needed some more resources, obviously, but while gathering my resources, I ended up building the semi-final character I needed to my collection, which is actually my favorite character in the game, the Radical. The Radical is the most important part about this game, because if there's something you don't like in this game, he can do it for you. He plays the game and chooses upgrades automatically. And if you know what that means you can finally touch grass. And so the first thing I did was I needed to go to the bathroom and eat dinner. So I decided to make him do a run on the Tactician and the Radical. The Tactician, by the way, sucks. He makes the game turn-based, and I know that this character is based on the original game that this game was based off of, but I can't do that. I don't have the patience to. But jokes aside, the Radical is an insanely powerful character for you to have. Yes, he plays the game for you, and that's kind of lame. However, it makes getting this 100% the most bearable 100% I've ever gone in my life, but it also kept it relatively fun. I can now actually do the characters I enjoyed, play the characters I like, do the combinations that I like, have a sense of accomplishment where it doesn't feel like I'm selling my soul away.
Oh, but Adrian, you're kind of like a ball cuck. You're a ball cuck. You don't want to play the game.
Dude, I'm touching grass. What about you? You know what I can do now? While my game is running for my character, I can look at the next achievements I can do. You can't do that in a regular run. You can't do that on any other character. I now have the freedom to think about what I do, to think about what I'm going to say next, because this character gives me the freedom to choose what I want to do with my life. Yes, occasionally he makes a bad decision and doesn't get the encyclopedia entry that I needed, but that's okay. That's okay. I have the time to be angry about that now. And yes, he doesn't play as well as the other characters. Yes, he dies on this run. Yes, this basically wasted like 10 minutes of my life, but I have the ability to be upset about that, and that's the biggest thing that I wanted. And so I decided to spend the next couple of days optimizing my buildings again. If we're gonna start making some buildings that'll make our runs significantly, and I mean significantly easier, we need a lot of resources, and I mean a lot, probably double of what we're currently making. And so back to the drawing board, doing more runs on my favorite character combination, the Shade and the Jacobin hitbox, where we find a brand new blueprint for the evolution chamber, where new balls all start at level 2. What's really cool about a lot of these buildings is that a lot of them are actually, like I mentioned, upgradable. In this run, we're able to successfully defeat the Lord of the Owls, get our character completion bonus, get 2 more gears where we need 1 more gear for the next level, but also get a brand new blueprint where all our relics will also start at level 2. And if you're slowly seeing the progression, you can kind of see that that's probably going to mean that most items that we spawn or find will be slowly just higher level, meaning we can fuse them faster. But that also comes in with the implication that levels are going to get harder. And that is actually very true. Regardless, we're able to build the final character building, the laboratory, to unlock the final character, the physicist, giving us the achievement for unlocking every single character. However, the fun of the characters aren't in leveling them up. It's not in, I don't know, grinding with them. I truly do believe it's in playing them and using other characters in combination with them to see what works and what doesn't work. But regardless, I had a lot of resources that I needed to get, especially for all of these really overpowered buildings that will make it where every single run will basically be a success. But as I mentioned, the problem is the amount of resources we have. And so I did what I do best. I grinded for like 20 hours off camera. And so check it out. Our buildings have now given us the base scaling of BBAAAA, meaning when we start our runs and level up, we get significantly stronger, significantly faster. We also built the War Room building, giving us the ability to send characters that we previously have won levels with on their own little expeditions to get more money and resources. This, combined with 2 brand new buildings, the Gemsmith and the Ballmaker building and the Antique Shop building, will make it where every run is going to look a little bit different. Let me show you. Let's just hop into a run on the Heavenly Gates on 2 characters. This is the beginning of the game. Notice how our first ball is level 3, our second ball is level 2. We also get a free ball and a free item at the start of the game. That is how, right, look at this. This is the start of the run. Look at what we have. That's a party up there. Also, not to mention, we're actually able to even level up faster because we have the increased pickup range, as well as a lot of buffs from the general buildings. Right now, we're doing a run, and despite having the same type of, I don't know, movement, the same type of balls, maybe like more combinations, despite having all of that, because of all of the buildings we're making, the literally, you get a recipe, you just build it. You turn your brain off, you just get stronger. You do. With that being said, I was still discovering brand new balls every single single day. At this point, we have a lot of balls already that I've unlocked, but for this run in particular, I combined the love ball and the dark ball to create the incubus ball. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the balls in this game are kind of just, hey, it looks cool, I'm gonna use it. And it does work. It works right now. But unfortunately, sometimes it's not enough. And in this case in particular, I think I just picked a bad set of characters to be with each other. And well, because of that, we lost the building. We lost the game. But upon coming back and harvesting our resources, we're able to complete another very important building, the relic collector, making it where all of our new relics should be at a higher base level, making our runs way easier. It's crazy, dude. Anyway, I decided to go into the heavenly gates with Achy Finger and the Knight. My favorite, like, classic character combination. Very simple characters, but they're super unbelievably effective. But with these two basic characters, we're able to successfully defeat the Lord of the Owls, the heavenly gates, one last time and get the final gear that we need to upgrade our lift to reach the final level of Ball X Pit, the Void. I decided to go with my two favorite strong character combinations of all time, the classic Shade and Jacob in Hitbox. Down here, we're greeted with a completely different aesthetic to any other level that I've gone to before, on top of having extremely stronger enemies. It was like a weird broken temple, like eldritch building steampunk aesthetic. I'm really just throwing buzzwords, I'm not gonna lie. But also there was this weird void bubble on the ground, and I started to notice that whenever your balls go through it, they actually fall at like a random spot in the map, making your builds a little bit more disorientated. Combine this with the fact that these enemies are genuinely some of the strongest things I've ever fought, despite me believing that I was at the pinnacle of my strength, and these enemies are suddenly able to take it into the face and not flinch at all. I was a little bit overwhelmed. But regardless, we push on through, where we find a blueprint that might signify how strong the enemies will be getting. Gain +1 bonus strength as the building can be upgraded infinitely. That's right. Apparently there's infinite upgradable buildings. Oh god. But regardless, we push on. I decided to go with a bleed backshot build. Oh my god. Using this build, because the characters themselves are shooting balls from the back, I was trying to prioritize hitting enemies from the back for that insane damage increase, as well as prioritizing bleed, because bleed procs whenever you hit the same enemy with the bleed proc on them. You just keep smacking them and they keep bleeding more, I think. But finally, I was able to reach the very end of the vast void and face the final boss of Ball X Pit. What is that? It is the moon. We're fighting the moon. That's kind of cool. I hope that this guy has like 10,000 phases. That'd be really cool. He's shooting a lot of projectiles and they're all relatively homing. The blue ones home, but the orange ones do not. He's moving down. He's changing locations. I'm gonna hop up over here, upgrade my holy laser ball again. I'm gonna hide. He's actually next to me. That's okay. He's going to die unless he has a second phase. Dodge. We're doing good. We're doing good. We're doing good. We're doing good. Okay. Wait, we killed him. Unpacked. Complete every level of the cohabitants of Vast Void. Complete Vast X Void. We actually beat it. Unless there's this is new. Do I enter? I've entered. And now we're in the ball that destroyed Balbalon. We are orbiting it. What? And so with that being said, we beat the final boss. Kind of. We actually need to go ahead and beat the moon a couple more times to actually restore Balbalon back to its former glory. But for now, until we do that, we can actually upgrade absolutely a bunch of stuff in our base, as well as expand a whole bunch of things. We still have a lot to do to get the 100% done, and it's a lot of grinding. Luckily for you guys, you don't have to see that. But for context, there was only a couple of achievements that I needed to get. Mainly, some of them were just like encyclopedia stuff, unlock specific things that are a little bit more, harder to get. But the biggest thing was to get a lot of completion marks. And the best part about being a YouTuber is that I have a lot of time on my hands. The first thing I did was get every single character scaling to S ranking. This was done by maxing out our scaling buildings. Now, every single time we do a run, our characters will get so stupidly strong. It's just beautiful. The next thing I did was I started abusing the market in selling my resources. You could use a gold farm to get all of the money you need for either building upgrades or for expanding your base. But since I wasn't really going to go play into New Game Plus, I decided to go with this way, which was the easier way, at least for now. But now because of this, we now have much more real estate to make and kind of min-max our base, kind of. The first thing that I wanted to do, however, is to actually fill out my encyclopedia. Throughout my entire time of playing, I've gotten a couple of ball combinations that were a little bit more harder to get, like the black hole ball. However, there was still 3 balls that I still did not figure out the recipe for, and so I decided to Google them, and I found out why I could not figure them out for the life of me. Now, at this point in the game, I also started working on all of the completion marks I needed for every single character. A lot of the achievements are genuinely just beat every single level with every single character. That's like literally, I think, 40% of the achievements. But I still needed to get those achievements for figuring out the other balls that I didn't get, filling out the encyclopedia, and also filling out a couple of characters that I just really did not want to play. And so the first step I decided to take was to unlock one of the ball recipes I was missing. Some recipes in the game actually revolve around using evolved balls rather than just doing 2 regular balls. So for example, the bomb, which is a fusion, combined with the poison ball can make the nuclear bomb, which is kind of like I consider them super balls. Is that acceptable terminology? Another super ball combination in mind is if you combine the succubus and the incubus, you can create the Satan ball, which is an absolute insane ball. Also giving us the achievement. Yeah, the achievement is really cool and all, but this ball does basically a full screen burn effect, which is so succulent. But although we are trying to fill out the encyclopedia, we still actually didn't even beat the game yet. Yeah, we did it. To restore Balbalon and to beat the entire game and trigger the final cutscene, you need to beat the vast void level with at least 8 characters. And with me doing a couple of runs already, we only needed to do 2 more successful runs. And with this already being a successful run, we now only needed to do 1 more successful run. So I decided to go with it a little bit of an unorthodox character combination, the Flagellant and the Juggler. And not because of their abilities, but rather because of the balls I needed for the final couple of balls I needed to unlock. In order to unlock the Nosferatu ball, you need 3 evolved balls, the Fly ball, or the Mosquito ball, the Broodmother, and Vampire Lord, to create Nosferatu. Spawns a bat with each bounce, which will fly towards an enemy and deal a random amount of damage, turning it into a Vampire Lord. I don't know, I'm just reading the ball, man. This was one of the other quote-unquote super balls that, you know, require a bunch more evolutions to actually acquire. And personally, I don't even know if they're crazy. This one looks really cool though, by the way. Like the balls were flying all over the screen. I felt really cool about it. But there was still 1 more evolution super ball that I still needed to get. But as I mentioned before, right now we're trying to get the ending of Balek's Pit and restore Balbalon. In fact, the Vast Void only now needs 1 more run for us to get that. And since we got the Nosferatu ball in this run, we were able to do insane amounts of damage and lifesteal until eventually we're able to not only defeat the moon for 1 final time, but we're now finally able to trigger the cutscene that will allow us to restore Balbalon. This is it. We're about to restore Balbalon. Please, there it is. Let me into the ball and let me restore Balbalon, baby. Let me do it. Let me do it. This better be some crazy cutscene of us restoring balls. 8 ballers surrounded and in orbit by a ball. The stars are orbiting around us. We're creating a brand new solar system or a planet, it seems. A place for ballers. We are becoming the orbit. We are becoming the Saturn ring of the moon of the... What is happening? This looks like a crazy Oreo cookie flavor. This is trippy, dude. This is going to be the intro of my 100% video, by the way. I'm calling it right now. I should send this to my dad. My dad loves space stuff. And now a bunch of... Is this an epilepsy warning? Oh my God, it's an epilepsy warning. Holy... So how do we even restore Balbalon? The city's already gone. Oh, it's coming back up. Wait, we're coming out of the ground. We're back. Oh, because the void was at the bottom of the world. I forgot. So we did restore Balbalon. God. What a good game. Oh my God. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the restoration of Balbalon. As the credits roll, I am reminded by how much I truly do love this game. As I mentioned before, and I know I'm a video game glazer. I know I'm a video game glazer. I know. But wow, this game is truly unbelievably fun, magnificent, cool. Oh my God. Anyway, we end up getting the achievement for restoring Balbalon, but still our work is not over yet. We still need to grind. We need to complete every single completion mark on every single character, beat every single level, complete and unlock every single recipe for every single ball, and also every single item. But the thing is, it's actually going to be rather simple because we are at the end of the game, meaning we're able to actually optimize for a lot of the things that we need to get. The first thing I started to do is to combine specific items to get specific new items, the evolved items. For example, the Tormentor's Mask, as well as picking up the Artificial Heart, which is a brand new passive whenever you pick up totems. Luckily for me, because I had the ability to just pick up 5 items at once now because of all the brand new buildings and the upgrades that we're making, I was able to just unlock all of these brand new items by just knowing the recipe, and because I have so much ability rerolls and so much more flexibility with how fast I can actually upgrade things, getting all of these items and filling out the encyclopedia at the very end of the game was so much more easier than I thought. Eventually, we're able to finally get the last item that we needed for our encyclopedia, which was the Soul Reaver's Sword. A lot of these items are super cool. I honestly wish I did unlock them earlier so that I can use them in a lot of my runs, but regardless, they're super easy to get now, which makes me happy. But finally, the last achievement that I really needed to go out of my way to get was getting a lot of gold in one setting. The other group of achievements I needed to get were just completion marks, and those were going to be really easy to get because all of my characters are unbelievably powerful now. But for this gold mining achievement, if you set up this really simple gold farm, you're actually able to just farm an insane amount of gold, and later on in the end game, whenever you do want to build an insane gold farm, there's much more optimized strategies for it. You're able to farm insane amounts of gold, but for now, just for the achievement, I just did what I needed to do to unlock it. And with that being said, all of the achievements I needed left were completion marks, and with an entire day left of grinding and a shirt change from black to white, we were able to get most, if not every single completion mark left. In fact, the only thing I really wanted to record and show you guys was a very, very underrated, or I guess overrated, really cool ball combination, and that is the insta-kill ball combination. One of the quote-unquote super balls that you can make, which is an evolved ball with a regular ball, is the black hole ball. You take the sun, which is the evolved ball, and a dark ball to create the black hole ball. This ball does an insta-kill effect every 7 seconds. However, it insta-kills an enemy as long as it's not a mini-boss. The thing is, however, is that you confuse this with a ball that can have a very much considered screen-wide effect, a full screen effect. And if you do that with a ball such as the sun ball, you can get something like this. We got a little bit of that, and then maybe hit him with a little bit of this, and then maybe hit him with a little bit of that. So yeah, this is a really, you guys can't see the bar on our right screen, but it's going sicko mode right now. We are leveling it up so fast. We're just screaming through the levels right now. Look at all the stuff that's dropping on the ground. I can just pick it up. So yeah, it's cool for like 10 seconds when it works. This is super sick, right? It just takes forever for it to work. Yeah, I mean, look, insta-kill, let's go. So yeah, this is one of the, I guess, cooler ball combinations that you can make. But yeah, I just wanted to show that really cool ball combination. I know there's a bunch of other ones out there like sun and overgrowth ball combinations. The problem with this one in particular is that it takes forever to kill the boss. But however, it was a really cool ball combination I saw on TikTok, and I tried to play this game mostly spoiler free. I had a fantastic time doing it. But regardless, at the very end, we're able to defeat the Void with my last character that I needed completion marks for, which was the Physicist. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, do I present you every single level completed with every single character, thus giving us the Ball Pit 100%. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. This was a amazing, and I mean super addicting 100%. I highly recommend it. It was really not that bad, especially since you can use the Radical, who autoplays a lot of your characters if you are indeed a little bit lazy on the completion marks like I am. Or maybe you just want to have some of the characters play themselves, like Tactician. I hate him so much. But yeah, I know there's a lot to do in this game. There is a new game plus. There's a lot of things that you can do, a lot of combinations, a lot of character combos, building min-maxes, etc. But this is where my journey ends here, and maybe for you, this is where it starts. Thank you guys so much for watching my Ball Pit 100%, and yeah, it's been Adrian, guys.